everybody. The spreadsheet that you are looking at is the project that you are assigned that is due the end of the class, which I believe is December the 6th. And I'm going to give you a very brief demonstration. I don't particularly like to have long videos, and I'm very sensitive to that, so I'm going to be skipping through. But I think once you look at the video from start to finish, you'll have a good idea what you're expected to do and how to carry it out. Using Microsoft Excel, we are going to purchase 10 purchase from 10 different companies shares of stock. Now, the number of shares that you're required to purchase cannot be lower than 100. So for each one of the companies that you choose, you have to have a combination of at least 100 shares of stock for each one, and trying your best not to exceed $100,000. What you see in front of me is my starting point of this particular spreadsheet, and I'm just going to go through and list the names of the companies that I'm, trying to track. Do not you need to use the companies that I'm using, but I chose these particularly because of the way I understand these organizations work. The organizations that are beginning are more stable and been around for a while, but then there are also some organizations that are more risky, more volatile, which is the Facebook, and there are also retail establishments. And even this is my own personal preference. It gives me a more of a diverse group of stocks, so that I don't have to see too much of a unrealized loss in these changes in price. So I'm trying to make certain that some companies that I might see a loss in may be offset by some gains that I see in other stable companies. So that's my particular rationale for buying these stocks. Again, you are required to purchase at least 100 shares of stock for the 10 companies that you choose. And the first thing you want to do is, choose your stocks. Choose the companies that you want to buy stocks from. And then you want to buy them. Now, I'm going to go to the Yahoo Finances, which is www.yahoo.com, and then select Finance. I input the company that I like, and I use the stock symbol that I have on here. For example, I use Dell. I'm going to start with my spreadsheet and use the Dell company. And let's see. I'm going to do my D just to look for all organizations. And let's see if we can find Dell Computers. It's not finding my Dell Computers. Let's do Dell Corporation. Should pretty much find it. And that's what you'll have to do when you're looking for a company to buy stocks from. You're not going to really know all of the different symbols. So the best thing I would assume you can do would be just to do the lookup function. So let's go back to Finance Home. Let's see. I'm going to replace Dell with another company, simply because of all the I'm having such a hard time finding Dell. I don't know why. Dell is a publicly traded firm. I'm going to use another company and replace that, and I'm going to use let's use another automobile manufacturer. Let's see. Let's try Chrysler, maybe. No, you know what? I'll use Boeing. I'll choose the Boeing company. That's a good group. So let me change my spreadsheet. Boeing is a manufacturer of airplane or aircraft. I'll make sure I'm spelling the name correctly, of course. Boeing. And I'm not in any way telling you to buy U.S. stocks or anything like that. The only requirement is that the stocks that you do purchase are from publicly traded companies, because you'll have the information you need consistently. So now that we know we want Boeing, okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to find out what the price is. And I'm going to use the historical prices, because I want 12 months worth of data, 12 consistent months to track this particular stock. So I'm going to use 2013 as my guide. You do not have to use my months or years. You can use a period of time that's consecutive, and it doesn't have to follow a calendar year. But I'm making mine extremely simple. So I'm going to use 2013 because we have 12 complete months. And I'm going to go all the way through here, and I'm selecting from January the 1st 2013 to December 31st, 2013. You have an option of daily, weekly, monthly. I don't care about the daily or the weekly. I'm going to select only the monthly, and I'm going to get the prices of these stocks. So here we are. We got 12 months worth of stocks, and we have here the dividends that were paid for this company. What we're going to do is on our spreadsheet, we're going to be tracking some information. When we purchase the stock, we're going to use the opening price. So on the 1st of January, which is going to be at the bottom because it's going to be the most recent on top, January the 1st or the 2nd, actually, because January 1st is a holiday, but January 2nd, the stock purchase price at the open of the day was $76.55. And that's going to be consistent upon every single company I choose. I'm going to use the January 2nd opening price. So I've got $76 a share. I'm going to go to the next company. Now, I'm going to leave these fields blank for the number of purchases. I just want to get the price of each one of my stocks before doing anything else. Now, for all of you, what would be easy would be to take this information and download it so you can easily get access to it. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to download it simply because I want to be able to jump back and forth to get the information that I need. Now, we download that information, and now I'm going to go to the next company. And I'm going to put the symbol in, and hopefully my symbol is right. The next company is IBM, so I'm going to use the IBM stock symbol. And again, I found IBM, and IBM is giving me their stock price as of today, I believe it is. But I don't really want today's price because I'm dealing with historical information, and I'm going back, way back to 2013. So I really don't care about what's on the main screen for this organization. So I'm going to do the same thing here. Go all the way through. All I want is the monthly prices of each share of stock for the company IBM. And if I scroll all the way down, here's my January right here. So now January costs $194 at the open of trading. So I'm going to put that $194.09. Now, I'm going to continue throughout all of this, and then once I come back, you're going to see all of the fields populate. Okay, now I've chosen 10 stocks, and they are listed here. I've gone through and checked from the Yahoo Finance the purchase price as of January the 2nd, 2013, because clearly January 1st is a holiday. And now that I have the purchase price, I'm going to go through and determine how many shares of stock I would like to purchase from each company, knowing that 100 shares of stock is the minimum that I can purchase. So I'm going to start with a minimum for each one and adjust according to how much money I have left over, if I have any left over. In the share per price at the end of each month, it's going to be the initial worksheet's going to have the price that you've paid for that. And I think, let me do something else. Let me change one more thing to make sure this is very, very clear. And I'm going to put on parentheses, and this is going to be per share. And then we're going to change this column here to be more accurate. Purchase price. And then I'm going to add a column just to make certain it's very clear that we show. Well, let me undo what I did. I'm going to add a column. Now, and I have end of month price per share. So I'm going to start with 100 shares, and I'm going to do my calculation and see if I overspent or underspent. Because I'm only allowed to spend 100,000 or very close to it. And what I'm doing here is calculating the price for each share, and I'm formatting it so it's easy. So it looks like I've got I'm only spent $45,000. Well, I've got $100,000 to spend, and I want to spend a little bit more in Facebook, and Boeing is going to be one I want to spend a little more, and CVS since they're so small in dollar amount, I'm going to spend another 200, and the same with Rite Aid. I'm going to buy 500 shares of Rite Aid, and maybe 400 shares a Ford Motor. And I'm going to look at Dominion. I'm going to spend about 500 shares for Dominion and another 400 shares here. That's a little bit. It takes me over too much. So IBM, I'll take, let's see, 200. 200 looks good. Maybe 250. 225. 230. See how I'm just finagling? 240. 245. 247. 246. 246.5. 247. I'm going to use 247. So I've got number of shares for each one of my companies, and I'm going to do a total. So for my 2,647 shares, I spent a little over $100,000, $100,009.73. So that's not a big deal. Now, this is a purchase that was made on January the 2nd, 2013. So at the end of the month of January, I'm going to calculate, or at least determine, what the per share price for each one of my stock, and at that point I'm going to determine how much of a gain or loss that I've incurred just for 1 month of holding. And this column here is going to show what the value of my shares in total. And this column here is going to give me the number of the amount of the share price, each stock price at the end of the month. So I'll be back and I will have this information in the column F and column G completed. I have now determined, based on my search within Yahoo, the per share price for the stock at the end of the month. This example here is Rite Aid Corporation. I wanted to get the price of the stock at the end of January, and when I look at it, I look at the date, the opening price, the highest it was in that date, the lowest it was in that date, and then when it officially closed. I'm going to use the official close, which is $1.60 for all of the transactions, all of the stocks that I've purchased when I'm trying to compare my unrealized gain or loss for the month. So at the end of the month, I determine what their per share price is, and now what I'm going to do is calculate my new value of my stocks. And again, I'm going to take the new price and multiply by the number of shares that I've purchased. And I'm going to take this formula and copy it all the way down. And again, we're talking about making certain that our formulas are consistent. So I'm going to format this, my columns in here, my etc. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to total, and it looks on the face of it that my stocks have a overall gain of maybe $3,000. But I'm going to do it based on individual shares that I've purchased. So if I take my purchase price as my base and I subtract what my new month-end share price is, I come up with a unrealized gain of $565. I'm going to take that formula and copy it all the way down, because I want to find out how much money that I've won or that I've gained or lost throughout the period. I'm going to see here, run some totals here. So I'm looking at a difference. Now I'm looking at each one to make sure that they're reasonable. Now, and what I want to do is I want to do it in a different way, because I want to show the loss. So I'm going to use my new price as my guide, so I can really see it, because it does give me the right amount of change in the stock price, but I want to see. Copy this. Hold on a second. Copy my new formulas. Okay. So let's look at each one. I started off with a $19,000 investment. At the end of the same month of my purchase, it decreased to $565. And it still looks a little strange. What we want to do, let's take what our new number is and subtract our old number, and take our new number and subtract our old. And here, our new number and subtract our old. And this is a really small difference here. very small new number. God. So if we look at each one of these transactions and we want to do our reasonableness test, if we purchase the stocks, 250 shares of stocks from Boeing, and the total cost to us is $19,000, at the end of the month, with the change in price of this each share, the value of our stock has decreased by $500. And then we go through the same process for every single transaction, every single one of our stocks that we've purchased. And I think I'm just about done. Because if we start with a transaction that has a month end of $3,951, but we purchased it at $3,955, looks like we lost $4 for that particular stock. And this loss is unrealized because we have not actually sold it. And I'm going to go all the way through. Again, we're just going to take the month end share price and we're going to subtract the purchase price. And we're going to go through the same thing, the month end share price, and we're subtracting what we purchased it. And the same here. And looks like we have a gain of $3,000 for the first month that we've owned our stock. And what you will be doing is taking the same information and you're going to do it for each and every month thereafter. So if I purchase my stocks in January, the next month, at the end of the month, the closing date, I'm going to go through and go to my particular stock. At the end of the month, find out what the closing price is per share and plug in that new value on my spreadsheet and determine, again, what my new unrealized gain or loss is for the next month. Now, I'm going to take this worksheet here, and I'm going to move things just a little bit so we can get this, so you can see what I'm actually doing. And so the next step is going to be to look at my tabs, and I'm going to make this a little bit smaller so I can see what I'm doing here. So the next step here in this case is I'm going to copy my information to my next tab. So here's my purchase information. I'm going to copy all of this to my next worksheet. And the only thing I'm going to be doing here is doing a calculation of the change in percentage. So we're going to deal with that. And that's just a function. So we're going to take our change and we're going to divide it by our new price. And we should be able to follow this all the way down. And I'm going to convert all of this to a percent because I really don't want to see these decimals. So now that I'm done, my next step is to take and find out what is the value of my stock as of February. And all I'm doing here is just making things a little bit bigger so that the numbers will show. And when I come back, what I will show then is for the second month, how much did we earn or lose for the stocks. I'll be right back. Now you can see this is the first month of transactions that the changes in price that we are talking about. We purchased these shares of stock, and it's going to show in this column here. And I'm only going to show it as a different color just to highlight it. And then each and every month, we're going to alter the price per share. I don't want to do it too much, but we're going to alter the price per share to reflect the month-end per share price. Using the same calculations all the way through, we are going to see that for 1 month, following the purchase, we have an overall realized gain of 3,400, which is a little bit different from the end of the month of the purchase. So we got maybe 3,300, and end of the following month, was February, is 3,400. And this is the process you're going to follow every single month. And you're going to go right to the Yahoo Finance, and you're going to take the stock that you purchased and find out what is that price at the end of a month. And again, you're going to be using the closing price. So for each one of the shares of stock, each one of the different types of companies that you've purchased stocks from, you're going to calculate their price of their per share price. And you're going to key that figure here. And with the calculations that you've already established in the previous tab, you're going to calculate the new price of those shares and what the difference is between the gain, or what we purchased originally, which is in this case 19,000, and the new price of this share, the shares, total shares, which is 19,225. And you're going to do this for each and every month. At the end of this process, I want you to use your chart skills and create a, I would say, a graph of the changes in your stock, and you should list the stock by name and the share prices overall and the gain or loss. But again, just show me what type of chart that you can create that will show you, I guess, a summary of all of the transactions that you've been tracking over the past 12 months. Each one of the months should be in a separate tab all to itself. You can probably see here. Each month will have a different information on here. Mine will be February, March, April, May, and all the way for 12 straight months. Yours may be not in a calendar year, but it might be in a fiscal year. But regardless, I want to see 12 consecutive months of activity, and I want to see the closing price per share, and for you to recalculate your value of your stocks and see if you have, for that month, actually have a realized gain or loss. This spreadsheet you can save and upload into the Dropbox that's located within our classroom. But generally, this is a really basic spreadsheet, and you can use my template as far as the calculations are concerned. I'm not opposed to that. Just be certain that if you're using the same companies, that you have dates and periods that differ from mine. But in the end, just try to make certain that you are tracking the same stocks that you've purchased and over a consecutive 12-month period. If you have any questions, you can look at Desire to Learn, or you can give me an email, let me know. But this is going to be our project, and it is due at the end of the semester. Thank you very much for listening.